Welcome to another Flute Center of New York sponsored review. This time we're looking at the Powell Signature. So I've gotten a lot of people requesting this. Before we get into all of this, I need to do my little spiel about my code, JAF. Number one, you get free domestic shipping within the US. If you just straight put in an order, it will be free shipping. But if you're requesting a trial, they will charge you shipping first, and then when you return the flutes, it will be refunded back to you. Number two, you get a 10-day trial instead of a 7-day trial. Number three, you get an 18-month warranty on your new flute. And number four, you can take up to 3 instruments out on trial at a time. I do earn a small commission on each flute that uses this code, so thank you very much if you do use it. If you want to set up a trial, you just need to contact the Flute Center of New York. I will put the link to their contact page in the info box below. They're super nice, really easy to work with. I've worked with them myself to buy myself an instrument. Always make sure you're actually in the market to buy when you are requesting trials, or else it's not fair to people who actually want to buy those flutes. Before trying flutes, make sure you wash your hands. I'm the type of person who gets very oily very quickly. So right before I started filming this, I washed my hands. Take off all dangly jewelry and especially rings before trying flutes, because that's the easiest way to scratch the flute. Never use the polishing cloth, the cleaning gauze, or the cleaning rod that comes with each new flute, because they are not yours yet. I try to make these reviews as objective as possible and as informative as possible. However, I do know that my body itself has some biases towards certain flutes that just respond to me better. What I'm trying to do is verbally explain to you what types of situations these flutes would be good for and what types of people these flutes would be good for. So please make an informed decision on your own as well. I encourage you to try any flutes that you think would work for you, because really you're the only person who can really tell if a flute will actually work for you. Like in Harry Potter, just as the wand chooses the wizard, so the flute chooses the flutist. All right, let's get into this. Oh, look at that. But a beauty. And then we have a box of head joints in here. Here we have 0.925 sterling silver hand cut signature style head joint. They haven't included the head joint in here. That's pretty typical, especially if you get to choose which head joint you want to go with your flute. For the rest of the flute, sterling silver body and mechanism, pinned mechanism, drawn tone holes, French open hole model pointed key arms, 10 karat white gold springs, Straubinger pads, 0.016 standard tubing, modern Powell scale, offset G, split E mechanism, B foot joint, handmade in the USA. So there's no C sharp trill on here, but it has like the rest of the gadgets that you would want. What a gorgeous little beauty. The head joints that we have here, one of them is a Powell sterling silver hand cut head joint, sterling silver tube, lip plate and crown, 14 karat gold riser, handmade in the USA. If you purchase it with the Powell signature, you would add an additional $690. If you were to get it alone, it would be $1,980. This one is nicknamed the 14KLR V. Sterling silver 0.925 tube, 14 karat lip plate gold riser, 0.06 standard wall tubing, Venti cut. I think that's what the V stands for. Handmade in the USA. If you purchase it with a new silver Powell, looks like it doesn't have to be a signature. It's just a silver Powell. You would add $2,130. If you were to get it alone, it would be $3,690. You're getting into the professional range here. This one is the 14KRP, sterling silver 0.925 tube, lip plate and crown. Wow, it's very top heavy. 14 karat gold riser, 0.016 standard wall tubing, Philharmonic cut. So that is the difference then between these two. The 14KR is their standard cut, I guess is what you would call it, and then this one is their Philharmonic cut. With the purchase of a new silver Powell, you would add $690. Alone would be $2,250. The Powell signature flute costs $7,262. We're looking at a flute that is around the same price range as the Haynes Q3 from the last review. I'm just gonna quickly go over the packaging here. I think I've mentioned this before, that I really like this type of outside cover where the zipper goes all the way down, so you can actually lay that top flap completely flat. What's interesting here is that the zipper that you normally associate with being on the outside part of this case is on the inside, it seems. It's just kind of tucked in there. we have lovely wooden cleaning rod, and we have included a microfiber polishing cloth. Very thick, lovely color. Ooh, and folded inside is a cleaning gauze. I really like this. Has Powell's signature here. Very classy. I like the look of that. Do not remove. This is anti-tarnish poly tab. That's really interesting. I've never seen one so small before. Little square sitting over there. This is probably not new technology, but it's new to me. Usually you have those large anti-tarnish strips that you just kind of like stuff under the flute. Should probably look more into that. I don't know if I should be touching it that much. Pretty tight fit. I would say that's a good thing. The foot joint tends to get loose over time anyway, because you're constantly taking it off and putting it on. I'm going to first try the 14KR, which is the standard cut. Also a very tight fit. I'm curious as to what I said about this before, because I have tried a Powell before. I tried a Powell Conservatory. Egg-shaped spinning air with a wider side in front. It tilts up and down depending on the register you're in. All of them use this sort of egg shape. I think what I have to find is where the egg is sitting in my mouth. I think I'll do a lot of harmonics to try and figure this out. The egg shape is happening, and it is happening so far forward that the widest part of the egg is actually sitting in front of my teeth. I really feel like my lips are playing like this, just trying to keep a lot of space between my lips and my teeth. I think maybe another thing I have to keep in mind is not smashing the flute against my lips at all. I'm finding I'm not using much of the back of my mouth at all. If you are a very forward player, you'll probably really like this, but if you play with more the middle to back of your mouth, this might not respond to you. Just something random I'm noticing is that the feel of this flute doesn't feel as massive as the Haynes. It's like a good sort of small to medium size. If you look at all of my reviews, all the flutes look like they're the same size because the differences are so tiny that it can't really be caught on camera. Although one of you actually mentioned that the Haynes looked like a monster on me, so maybe you guys do notice it. I've actually seen my friends play my flute and their fingers are literally crammed together when they're playing my flute. Let's try noodling around a bit. The differences that you make in tilting that egg up and down feels much more extreme. I wonder if it's just because the base of that egg is like in front of your teeth, so any movement in terms of like the angle of the airstream that you're moving that far forward in your mouth is going to feel like a much larger difference than if you were to have the egg sitting further back in your mouth and then like tilting it up and down. If you are the type of player where your teacher keeps telling you that you're overdoing movements, and if you play in the front of your mouth, then this will probably respond very nicely to you. Oh, gotta stretch it real far. But I mean, the note speaks really well, as you can hear. When I play around with tone color, I basically want to see the extremes. That's why I always try, when I'm going for a darker tone, I try to sound like a reed instrument, because I always find that doing that forces me to push the boundaries of how dark I can make the color. On the flip side, I try to see if I can make it sound like a wooden flute. That also helps me push the boundaries of hollowing out the tone color. Let's try to sound like a big fat reedy instrument. And now for like a nice hollow sound. depends on what you do with the bottom half of your mouth. If you widen out the space basically under your tongue, it will get that big fat reedy sound, dark color coming through. But if you kind of squash that space under your tongue, don't allow the air to fill up the space under your tongue, then it'll keep that nice kind of like hollowy woodsy sound. Okay, I'm curious now to see what I said here. Base of the egg widens for richer tone, narrows for thinner tone. That's kind of what I'm describing right now. Although right now I really feel like it's more like the negative space underneath my tongue. Let's play with dynamics. I think it's just the egg gets really big and you have to fill out that space with a lot of air for fortes, and then for pianos you just make the egg super tiny. Just shrink it down as tiny as you can get. Got to support the airstream a bit more with your core and then readjust the angle of the airstream to make sure it doesn't go too flat. That's exactly what I said in my notes here. Side note, if you're having trouble learning how to direct the angle of the air up and down using only your lips, stick a straw in your mouth and using only your lips, direct the straw up and down. That uses the exact muscles that you need to do that. Let's do some scales to test out the mechanism. So far they're feeling really smooth. A little bit of resistance. It's not particularly light, I would say. It's sort of like medium resistance. Feels very even though. I'm doing an F major scale right now. Has that medium resistance. It kind of smooths out your technique for you. If you enjoy a harder touch, you would really like this. I'm gonna try out the trill keys. Same exact medium resistance, totally matches the other keys. Let's try out the B flat lever. So surprisingly, this one also has medium resistance to it. I would say that the B flat lever is usually known for being really floppy, and this one is not. It has the exact same weight as the other keys. I'm gonna try out the gizmo. Surprisingly, this one also has a little bit more resistance than I'm used to. Again, the gizmo tends to be known as one of the floppy keys. That's nice. It has a very nice weight to it. So if you like some weight to your keys, you're gonna really love this flute. Now we're going to try out articulation. Before I get into this, actually, I'm already noticing that the way that I was tonguing in the beginning of trying this, I heard thumping. That's not surprising because the egg is sitting so far forward in my mouth. I was tonguing against the back of my teeth, and I think I subconsciously started to move my tongue more between my teeth, which is a much more forward way of tonguing. So let's test that out and see that if that's actually holding true. Yep. Let's try double tongue now. The tongue for the T part of the double tonguing is between the teeth, which I call faux French tonguing. Real French tonguing is when you are tonguing from between your lips, but this is a little bit further back. The K is probably, it has to be so far forward that I really feel like I'm cheating it. Like I'm going to feel like I'm not actually making any contact with the roof of my mouth, but let's see what happens. Yeah. I was trying to make contact in the beginning and it was just sounding really kind of thumpy and weird, and then as soon as I lightened it up to the point where it feels like it's not actually making contact with the roof of my mouth, it just cleaned right up. There we go. This type of double tonguing, it's very cheaty is the way that I would describe it. You feel like you're not putting enough effort actually into doing double tonguing when you're double tonguing like this. But double tonguing like this is perfect for doing things like Midsummer Night's Dream, nasty orchestral excerpt that everybody practices too much of. You can only do double tongue that light on this flute anyway, so it would make those types of orchestral excerpts a lot easier. That, I think, wraps it up for this head joint. Ooh, ew. I think what I'm gonna do is try the Philharmonic cut next and see how that differs. Ooh, this is a looser fit. The only thing different from this head joint and the last head joint is the cut. Looks like the standard cut is more square, whereas the Philharmonic cut is a little bit more oval. I'm going to guess the Philharmonic won't be as free blowing as the standard cut, and it may need a little bit more finesse. Let's see what happens. Alright guys, it's exactly what I thought. That egg that I was talking about, it's not as wide as on the standard cut. The egg here is a lot narrower. It's so narrow that it has kind of the feeling of being even more far forward than the standard cut. If you actually compare it, it's actually not. I think this would be good for those of you who have smaller mouths, because you may not be able to actually fill out the standard cut as much, but you still have to be a very forward player. I think that's really the only difference here. I'm gonna try noodling around now. Yeah, the base of the egg is so much smaller. I really feel like I'm playing like, ooh, my lips have to go more outward. The standard cut caused me to open up my mouth more like this. This cut is making me open up more like forward and over. I can already tell this cut doesn't work on me as well, because I think my mouth just has a really hard time doing that kind of more forward position. If someone has a smaller mouth, then they may not feel the need to kind of like really do that sort of forward lip motion. Now let's try out tone color. I'm going to guess it's the same thing. It's that negative space under the tongue. Ah. So it's easier to do a hollow tone on this one because the whole thing is so much narrower, right? It's easy to overdo the reedy dark sound because I'm finding that even the reedy sound, you can't fill up the space as much as you can on the standard cut. You kind of have to keep it confined. So again, this is kind of confirming my theory that this would be better on a person who has a narrower mouth than me. Dynamics now. Same thing, just take that shape of an egg, make it real big and fill it up for fortes, make it real small for pianos. Let's now do articulation. I didn't notice any thumping from before, so maybe I'm just getting used to tonguing between my teeth. Yeah, it's the exact same placement as the standard cut. Yep, same. Because it's not like the egg has like moved forward or backwards, it's just the shape of the egg is a lot narrower. Now let's try the last one. Also a bit of a looser fit. I'm going to guess this one is far warmer because it's not just a gold riser, but it's also a gold lip plate. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to do to the shape of the egg though. Like, I have actually no idea. Ooh, is this a standard cut? Because it's definitely responding to me a lot better. This is the Venti cut. Oh, I'm gonna compare it to the standard again. This is even more square than the standard. Got it. Okay, no wonder it's so free blowing. Let's do some harmonics to figure this out. you guys notice I could get that highest harmonic out that I couldn't get on the other ones? It was because the egg is placed further back, so I feel like I personally have more leverage over it. The base of the egg now is at my teeth. I have a little bit more control because I personally have more space around my teeth than I do in front of my teeth. But it's that same motion, nothing different. The shape of the egg is a little bit bigger than on the standard cut as well. Yeah, there's so much more space in this lip cut that it is wanting more air to go in there. So if you find that you put a lot of air into the flute and your airstream is quite wide, I think you'll really like this one. Definitely is a tiny bit warmer than the other head joints that we've tried. The Venti cut is a very good soloistic sound. It's like crazy powerful. That's amazing. Should do some tone color. Since this is in the Powell family, I'm gonna guess it's that negative space under the tongue again. It is. This one I feel like I can push more than the standard cut, but again I think it's just because the cut of the lip hole is wider and you have more space. You can fill up more of that negative space under your tongue to get that big fat reedy sound, and when you narrow that space down, you don't have to narrow it as far as the standard cut to get that hollow sound to come through. I guess people with bigger mouths than me would really appreciate this too. Okay, so now we're going to do dynamics. Probably the same idea. Big egg, forte, small egg, piano. So something kind of weird that I'm noticing, yes, it is big egg, small egg. I'm noticing that I have to really concentrate on that like tiny egg shape when I'm playing piano, or else it gets really fuzzy. If I concentrate on keeping that base of the egg still wider than the back, it comes out a lot more crystal clear. You hear how crystal clear that is? That's really nice. But I have to really concentrate on keeping the front of the tiny egg wider than the back. All right, articulation. This one I think is closer to how I normally tongue. Because the egg is placed further back, the tongue will also come further back. So I think where I was tonguing was probably behind my teeth or where the teeth meets the gum. So I need to figure that out right now. So I just tried both. The first one was where my teeth meets the gum, and then the second time was just behind my teeth. I personally feel that behind the teeth, just a bit lower from where the teeth meets the gum, that part sounds really good, real clean. I like it. No thumps. I tend to hear a little bit of thumping when the tongue is a little bit too high. The double tongue then, the K part is going to be a little bit further back than on these two head joints. I do find that for my mouth, because I'm more used to playing a little bit further back than these head joints, this type of double tonguing is more natural to me. So that may contribute to what you guys are hearing, that maybe it sounds a little bit cleaner on me. You do make a little bit more contact with the roof of your mouth than you do with these. It's still very light. I would say the K is hitting like about the middle of the roof of my mouth. If you go too far back, you're also going to hear a bit of a thumping. This flute has been very lovely to play. Very responsive, very good if you are going into music school or if you're already in music school. I really like their selection of head joint cuts because I feel like it covers a very nice range of mouth shapes. There's no doubt which one will fit you. You will immediately feel the difference between these three cuts. So if you want to try this out, head on over to the Flute Center of New York's website and you can order a trial for yourself. That's it for today, guys. Make sure you follow the Flute Center of New York on their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'll leave all those links in the bottom bar below, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye. Welcome to another Flute Center of New York. What?